All right. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give folks another 10 seconds or so to start streaming into the room. All right. So welcome back, everyone. It's good to see you all for the 1-2 Ask About Pets initiative and Pet Help Finder to catalyze pet inclusive human services in your community, part 2. So if you were in part 1 of our workshop, Janet Hoy-Gerlach set us up really nicely for the second part of the workshop. And the second half of the workshop will entail participants engaging in a Train the Trainer module for Pet Help Finder. Pet Help Finder is a national resource database and platform that connects pet owners with essential services. This session will provide hands-on guidance for using the platform, ensuring resource listings in your community are up to date, coaching others to make effective referrals, and helping empower communities to build accessible pet support systems. This workshop is ideal for social workers, housing shelter professionals, healthcare providers, and community leaders. And this workshop offers actionable steps to build interprofessional collaboration and expand access to resources that benefit both people and their pets. And to lead us through this workshop, we're really excited to have Heather Cammisa with us. Heather Cammisa has 25 years of experience in community animal welfare, innovation, and mission impact, with more than a dozen of those years as the chief executive of 2 nonprofit organizations. She has a master's degree in economics from Rutgers University and worked in both financial and social economics before devoting her career to the humane ethic. She is a certified animal welfare administrator through the Association of Animal Welfare Advancement, holds a graduate certificate in wildlife forensics and conservation from the University of Florida, and is a certified animal control officer and animal cruelty investigator. And of course, Heather is also at the helm of pethelpfinder.org, and she's going to lead us through this workshop. So from here, I hand things over to you, Heather.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Christine. It's just wonderful to be with everyone. We've got about 30 minutes together. So I'm going to dive right into pulling up what the site looks like, how to, navigate through it successfully and share it with the community and some of the features that we have and some that are coming up. So let me share my screen. And if somebody could give me a good nod there that it's come up. Excellent. As Christine shared, the first part of this presentation was with Dr. Janet, talking about the 3 questions and the initiative to have them be asked at intake with social service agencies so that we know if someone has pets, what they do for them, and if they're having any challenges. And Janet and I talked quite a bit that one of the hurdles to having something like that implemented is, well, what are we going to do with the information that we get if they need vaccines? Or how do we overcome getting people vaccines so they can get into housing with their pet? Or if it's obligate that the pet be spayed or neutered? Or, if someone needs to go into the hospital for short-term care, where is there crisis fostering or people that could help with that? And where are there co-located shelters for people to be with their animals? So this is the second piece of that to share, Pet Help Finder. It was launched a couple years ago. And for me, Janet kind of shared her background story. I've always known that we've needed something like this. We all had the lists at the front desks of shelters and other things where there was low cost spay neuter, where, there was cheaper boarding. But what really put me over the edge to, for us to take leadership on it was I had done some research for Meals on Wheels America. And if anyone is interested in that report, there is a summary report out there about that. But, only 16% of homebound seniors with pets reported ever reaching out to a humane society for help. And as someone who led 2 humane societies that did animal care and control, that really tried to provide a lot of services, that breaks my heart. And it certainly aligns to other data that we see from other community work. So, enabling working with social service agencies, what we can all do together, and the importance of that to help vulnerable pet families. And I'm trying to go page down. Why is this not clicking? Bear with me. Okay. This is what the site looks like. It is pethelpfinder.org. It is a program of our nonprofit, Open Door Veterinary Collective. It's free to use. It's free to be listed. Those two things will always be true. Um, and there's three main search categories: veterinary care, food pantry and supplies, and boarding and services. Some people like to push buttons. Some people like drop downs. Both of them are right here on the page for you. Today, we're going to go through some of the basic background and stats and then do the tour and talk a little bit about Train the Trainer. We have just thousands of organizations and service providers listed on Pet Help Finder. We have over 6,000 now. We started with 1,700. So it's growing. It is across North America. And there's so much more we still want to get in there. And certainly appreciate all of your help and want all of your services in there. And we're doing a lot to try to get benefits for people that are on there because you're the ones doing the great work in communities. Um, so we're partnered with DVM 360. They help me with conference scholarships so I can help send veterinarians that provide accessible vet care to conferences for free and some of the vet teams. We are partnered with United Way and 211. As Dr. Janet shared, it's just so critical we take care of both ends of the leash to have thriving pet families in our community. We are so grateful for the partnership of My Dog is My Home, working with Christine and the team to make sure that we have co-located shelters listed on Pet Help Finder. They were not there before at the beginning, and certainly working with Christine, we've gotten those up there and maintain those. The National Animal Care and Control Association, because certainly, if animal control is called out to a situation, whether it's a welfare check on a pet and it's deferred care because someone can't afford it, helping people get resources and get connected right away. Or if it's do you have a license and you need a rabies vaccine and it's an affordability issue, so that people are not cited for not having certain care. Again, the site is free. It's in service to you, to the community, to the cause. It is WCAG 2.1 AA conformant. I've had to learn what all that means for persons with disabilities. And it is available in translation to several languages on the screen. That is a Google Translate, but then we can correct static translation. So I had an intern from Tufts who helped me with the Mandarin and really went through and he, let us know what we needed to correct. So, and then Humane Canada helped us with some of the French translations, one of which I can't believe I missed. So that is a fail for my high school French. The 2024 statistics, we had 320,000 user sessions. Those users did 370,000 searches on the site. The average time on the site is 2 minutes and 17 seconds. We think that's great. We hope, everyone's coming, they're getting the information they need, and then they're contacting the provider that can help them. And sometimes that's a grant opportunity, not just a vaccine clinic, as an example. 3/4 of users are on a mobile device, so it's designed for a mobile, so it's very mobile friendly. That's why it's so clean and limited. And again, we ended the year with over 6,000 resources, and I'm going to share what those look like. So again, people put in, I'm looking for veterinary services. I always pull up a search in Philadelphia. That's where my great-grandmother lived and fed the alley cats. And so when we wanted her to move out of the city when she was getting older, she wouldn't because no one else would take care of her alley cats. So my Nana would have needed veterinary service help. When you do that, here's what comes up. So the pins can each be pushed on. The entire time you are in the veterinary services results, the screen is this color. Again, this helps with cognition and understanding where you're at. The results can be refined by clicking on that button. So again, it's that drop-down button right here. And so you can look more specifically for, I'm looking for payment plan options. And to us, that is not care credit. To us, and we've done research on this and we published on it, and we're about to publish 2 really exciting studies this year. But these are tools that do not depend on a hard credit check because they leave so many pet families behind. So these are expanded payment options that clinics offer, vaccines and preventative care, sick and surgery or dental care, emergency, end of life, feral and community cat help, whether they offer grants, subsidies, or vouchers, treat rabbits, pocket pets, and exotics. If there's any horse people on there, keep talking with me. Well, we're certainly open and we're listening, but I've had some horse um, groups reach out saying they'd like to see horses on here as well. And spay and neuter. You can also change the distance. And for our friends in Canada, and in parts of Mexico, we do have results available in kilometers as well. So you can choose miles or kilometers. Up here to the right is that language button. Did another? No. If you scroll down, first will be the events. So these are going to be vaccine clinics or spay neuter events, or when we're in the food pantries, it would be upcoming food pantry events. And so people can click through here. We do have corporate providers like those vaccines at Tractor Supply. And so when I was working with Meals on Wheels groups, some of them were spending a good deal of money trying to help their clients get vaccines because they didn't realize that, you know, Tractor Supply had vaccine pop-ups and they could save some money there, which would help them get their clients some wellness care or sick care, if they, or certainly end of life to provide a merciful passing if needed. So that was something they weren't aware of. Then will come nearby service providers. That's the next result as you scroll down. There may be multiple pages. Like, so here there are multiple pages. You would just arrow over. And then at the bottom, it's kind of a mixed bag category, traveling, online, regional, or national resources. And that's where you would see things like the Red Rover grants, which hopefully many of you are familiar with, for emergency veterinary care. There's a lot of those types of grants. Well, excuse me, there aren't enough. Let me say that first. We are also launching one ourselves for emergency care, but a lot of them are very specific, like they're sometimes golden retrievers with cancer. So we are going to be adding an intelligence tool that'll help people triage that information. As those grow and that gets bigger, we want to really help get people what they need as quickly as possible. But meanwhile, this bottom category might be like, there's a great group in San Francisco, Vets and Vans. They wanted to be listed as a traveling resource. So that's where they would show up if you searched in San Francisco, as an example. I always pull up Pause. They were one of our beta testers for the site. They're in Philadelphia. They do a lot of great work. They don't open at 6 a.m. I am on Mountain Time, so it shows up with my time zone. But very simple. It says who they are, how to reach them, what their hours are. If there's additional eligibility that you have, and for you to put up your services or someone that that is an additional text box that appears when populated. So it may be things like you do need to be a Meals on Wheels client. You have to live in this zip code. Or whatever the limitation or eligibility might be, that could, or additional information you'd want to give out about the services. So more can be put on here, but because it was designed for mobile, if that area isn't completed in the database, it doesn't appear here. Right here, suggest a change. We do crowdsourcing for making sure this database is updated and current. So if they don't open, if they're no longer open on Sundays and someone finds that out, those emails come to one of two people, myself and my colleague, and we respond to everything with certainly 24 to 48 hours at most, because people email us as well. And sometimes it's just an added qualification. We had someone reach out and say they didn't take a payment plan. And I reached out to the clinic and they said, we do take payment plans, but only for emergency cases. We said, oh, that's great. Would you please make sure to include that on your site, that eligibility piece? Next up are food pantry and supplies. So let me just say, like, That's the tile for any individual provider. So if it's a grant program, it would have information about their granting criteria or their website, etc. So now we are in green. So food pantry and supplies section, again, Philadelphia. And this is the drop down box there. And that's much shorter. Pet food pantry, pet supplies, or pet food delivery. And again, it'll be laid out with results in the same order. Events, kind of like what you might think of as like a brick and mortar provider. And then at the bottom, traveling regional and national resources. The last one, boarding and services. Again, the drop-down menu. It's a little bit longer. Pet-friendly human shelters is the first category. So this would be, domestic violence shelters that welcome pets, as well as services for those facing housing insecurity or other sort of situations. Temporary boarding is what I would call crisis fostering. So, short-term programs run out of maybe a humane society or a standalone nonprofit or otherwise. General pet care. This was a big one for Meals on Wheels with seniors, just a little help, walking the dog or scooping the litter box, something that they might need. Transportation services, boy, we sure don't have enough of that, but luckily it's growing. That's something we work on at Open Door as well. Grooming and nail trimming, fence building, dog houses, straw, and behavior support. And again, just calling out the pet-friendly human shelters. We really, we want to make sure we have this built out. It is the newest category on Pet Help Finder. And again, thanks to My Dog is My Home. So thank you, Christine, who also came up with because I said, Christine, it's got to be short because it's mobile. And so she came up with the language, which was perfect.
Uh,
So if a group, go
sorry,
ahead.
you're at a 15-minute time check.
Perfect. Thank you. So if you would like to be listed or you would like to encourage a service in your community to be listed, they would just click right here on the home page, want to be listed. Um, the every listing is vetted as well. So that comes to me and my colleague Karina, and we check, that and people answer questions. Why is your service financially friendly? We don't ask vets to give away things for free. If they have expanded payment options, that is a really meaningful way to expand access to veterinary care. And the research we're doing, it's just the early results are really compelling. Maybe I'll be invited back to talk about that another time. But this is what it would look like. You log into your page, you can edit your information, you can add users to update your information, you can add events, delete events, archive events, repost them, change the date, whatever it is. So we really try to make it very user friendly. At the bottom of the home page, there is a Share Us button. If you click on that, we give you the ability to use our logos, and you can even create a location-based search code that you can attach to the logo. So all the results within 50 miles of zip code 19122 comes up. This is a veterinary clinic up in New Hampshire. They're using it instead of doing what we've all done, which is maintain those lists at the front counter. They're helping to make sure their community's information's in there, and then they just point to that because we have an annual data verification process in addition to all our other outreach to get the database as robust and accurate as it can be. We also have a disaster functionality. So if your community has a disaster and you would like us to list resources, like where to get temporary crates, collars, where's the veterinary triage area, we can deploy that. A banner goes across the top of the screen, and then this very simple page, because the internet might not be great, comes up and it gives information. We even had with the recent events down in Asheville, North Carolina area, like, things to know about your well, because that affects everyone in the household, right? So where to find unemployment and, benefits and so forth. So, because the whole family needs to be taken care of, but very heavy on the pet resources, because we do point out to the human services and partner with them. What's coming up? Well, as I was sharing, we've been building benefits for providing providers on the site. We are also going to be adding, coupons and other things for people that use the site. We're talking with some vendors for that. Hopefully make things less expensive and help the people doing the work. Doing a lot of mapping and analyses to kind of say, here's an area that's a bright spot. Why are things going well there? What can we replicate there? Can we look at animal intake at the shelters and how many people are providing vaccine services that would be considered financial friendly? So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for all of us all to work on these issues, looking at this data together. And then the Veterinary Emergency Fund that I shared earlier. It will be for any clinic or animal welfare organization that helps with vaccines or medical care. It does need to be emergency, so vaccine wasn't the best example there. With a good prognosis of outcome, it's going to be up to $500 and an instant answer because it's going to be through the site, like a little calculator. So we're really excited about that. And if anybody would like to learn more about that or talk with me, please let me know. But we have little cards on our website, e-cards that pet lovers can send one another, and half of every bit of that donation goes directly to the vet fund, and the other half goes to work expanding access to vet care. So asks of everyone, just please, keep in touch with us, engage with us, add your services, let us know what we could do. We email quarterly pretty much some updates and opportunities. Please share the site, share your feedback. If you find a bad translation, let us know as well. We're really partner people. If there's a way we can partner with you, we want to know about it. We've been meeting with some really great, healthcare institutions around the country to, you know, the mayor's office for New York City, like you name it, we've had just great conversations and we want to have them. And then please give us feedback as well. And so that is it. And I have time for questions. This is my email. If you email the website, that will also come to us. And again, just really want to thank you. And with the pet-friendly housing information, and having my dog as my home on our site with the logo, it's really helpful because I know that people are using the site to find maybe you and your program across the country. Like we're hoping it can also help with, hey, what are they doing down there? I heard there's these great programs in Atlanta, and then they can go and look and then get in touch with you as well. But, we don't have all your forms and all the best practices. And so, being able to point out so we can add, more community logos and partners to make sure we're connecting people doing the work because they are using the site as well to find other people doing the work as well. So questions, comments, Christine, what do we have?
Yes, we have quite a few questions in the Q&A
Okay.
box. The first one, you had touched on this already, but if you could reiterate or just go into a little bit more detail, how do you ensure the information is consistently up to date,
Yeah.
i.e., a reminder email to all services on your site to update every X months or years or some other method?
Yeah, we were doing 11. We actually have a commitment to do it once a year with United Way. I don't know if any of you are on 211, but they have a really robust system where you get that email, like log into your, click here, make sure your information's up to date because we're on 211s. Not only are we on the national 211, we're on 211s all over the country, and I do those updates. And they're so excited to connect and with pet resources. But our process was kind of manual. We were sending the email. If people didn't respond 2 weeks later, they got another email. If they didn't respond again, then we were going in and checking them. And we are building in now an automated process to the site so it can reduce our time demand. So it is annual at minimum. And then certainly when people let us know, like this is inaccurate, like Walmart, I don't know if you know this in your community, they were they had VIPs in like little mini clinics inside Walmarts. There were 85 of them across the country. A bunch of those did close, and we knew it before they announced it because someone told us up in greater Northwest that it was closing. And so then we take it off. So that we have an annual process. And then we have the way for the public to tell us things, and then certainly with all of you and like professional communities letting us know things as well.
Thank you, Heather. So there's also a question about resources in more rural areas. It just seems like there's a dearth of resources in rural areas. So the question is, what actions would you suggest for ways to build a transportation and boarding services network in your own community?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of crisis fostering. And I created a large program after a natural disaster. I had 1,200 people sign up to foster other people's pets in 10 days. The problem that we all experience is the everyday disaster that needs response, and it is harder to build that up. I agree. But if anyone wants to email me, I'd be more than happy to share with you the forms that I created. I'd actually borrowed from some of the military fostering contracts, what worked, what didn't work. I've done talks on it. And it really is talking with everyone's worried about two things. They're worried about liability, and that keeps people from acting. And they're worried about like some of the technology and other pieces. So I could be happy to talk with you about that. Home to Home was creating a platform that the shelter, or at least was led by someone in your community. There's also Bestie B&B, which is kind of a new model as well that's out there. And but it really is having an agency step forward. And, it could be Meals on Wheels, it could be mental health services, and creating a program where we get over the fear of liability because we've got a good program, we've got the right waivers, we have how people are going to communicate, and it needs the advocate to do, but there's programs to model. And then was the second piece of that just veterinary care? Oh, no, it was transportation. Transportation was a huge barrier for the Meals on Wheels clients. It was double what we saw in the Access to Veterinary Care Coalition. We were doing something with Uber where you create a different Uber account and you can put money in it and you can give people the ability to set up rides with the pets. And then you can make sure like the ride is going from A to the clinic and back, or to the pet supply store afterwards to get pet food and back. So Uber does have that program, and I'd be more than happy to connect you with my colleague Geraldine, who is working on that. So again, please email me and I'll make that connection. Um, and then as far as, I've seen there's a really good Meals on Wheels program in Austin, Texas. Their volunteers do all the transport for the client's pets to the vet hospital. But that's, they have all the waivers worked out so that, but the client themselves isn't then with the pet and that's for various reasons. I would also say on the Maddie's Fund, if those of you familiar with Maddie's Fund, there was a recent talk about transportation, and you may want to check that out because there was also 2 or 3 programs highlight some great work that they're doing. So again, that's on Maddie's Fund. If you can't find it, again, please email me.
And Heather, there's a couple more questions in here that we won't get to, but they are in Whova, and I can also help send them over to you afterwards. But also, Heather has made herself very available to everybody by putting her email address here. So feel free to reach out to her. But can you give us the 30-second answer to does this tool feed into any other similar tool that also provides services, service search such as this? And I think you had mentioned that you have partnerships with 211, 311. You're just a big partnerships person. So just a quick 30-second answer.
Yes, we focus on pet services and then pointing out to 211. 211 points to us. If you go to 211.org, it points to Pet Help Finder for resources. And then, examples like My Dog is My Home, Christine, I hope it's okay to share that, you know, maintaining a database does take a lot of work, and a database is only as good as it's maintained. We are absolutely committed to it. Um, and working out new automated processes to do it even better and better. But, Christine said, would you take over maintaining this database? We have so much policy work to do. We run this great conference, and all the work they're doing. And so we took in that database And we now feel that it's our responsibility to work and keep that up to date and work with Christine and everyone to look at the information when we need to, or, to do some analyses when we all maybe get a breathing chance to look at some of these projects, right, Christine?
Right. And thank you for using us as a perfect example of the partnerships and how all of our work feeds into each other. I'm sure you could talk about it at length, but we do have to hop off and get to our closing session. So thank you everyone for participating. Feel free to reach out to Heather. And Heather, thank you so much for this wonderful demo.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.